Good afternoon, fellow pilgrims. I know I just posted the link to watch this program on YouTube where it will be broadcast. I posted it on the Facebook tag page under where I had originally posted the advertisement for this particular program. Merlin and I are here today, this afternoon. Hope you're all doing well. Not sure how many of you are able to come live for this program, but please spread the word because you'll be able to access it later on at your leisure. If you can't stay or be here today, hopefully some people will come back and watch it when they can at their most convenient time. I think it's an important subject. We are departing a little from the subject of the month, the theme of the month. Merlin said to me that he felt, I have been to a couple of all of your different programs this month, and I'm just enjoying the heck out of them. And you're also talented in um, many of you in the tag team especially are talented as healers and light language and in bringing forth messages from all different kinds of beings, and this is wonderful. And a lot of sound healing, a lot of really great stuff. And of course Merlin's, he can do some of that, and he allows me to channel some of that in sometimes, but his primary interest is teaching. And this is a subject he's been wanting to speak on for a long time. And he said, we've really covered as much as he wants to cover, and everyone else has covered as much as needs to be covered about sound healing and the music of the spheres and the Sri Yanta and everything for now. And so he wants to launch into this other subject. And I know some of you may have felt like, oh, this isn't for me. We're talking about religion. I've gone away from religion a long time ago. But he says that, first of all, hopefully it will be of interest and sort of explain things of how we got to this state and how you should regard religion in the world today as a spiritual practitioner and a light worker, and how you can use the best of religion, and how you can recognize what is no longer useful. And also, he says it may help some of you who are struggling with the balance between what you were raised in, the traditions you were raised in, and your first interest in spirituality, and what you know now. And he says it will help you, but it will also help you if you are beyond that to understand and assist your family, your friends, your community, and your clients who may also be struggling with this dichotomy. Because I know a lot of people out there, and myself was included years ago, who had a hard time making the leap originally from what how I was brought up to see spirituality as a sort of a us and him or her or it up there, and how we relate from a position of lowliness and asking, for a higher power who is basically divorced from us, created us, takes care of us, punishes us maybe in some religions, um, and gives us benefits sometimes. It's all different. It's all in the way you perceive it. But this sort of like split this is the most important thing Merlin says to overcome, is this idea that we are separate from source. And you all know this. We are not separate from source. In fact, we are source operating in the universe through many, many different colors, threads, experiences, planets, dimensions, adventures, incarnations. We are source. And the moment you say I am God, I mean, I remember the moment I was first taught to say I am God, I am source, I am connected with source, I am not all of source, but I am part of source. That was a huge big hurdle to overcome. So many of your clients and the people, remember, you're a light worker, you are showing the way for others, you are helping them to awaken, to make this leap in their spirituality. And that's like the biggest thing to overcome, is to say, oh, if I look at things from the idea that my true self is part of that, it's not divorced from God. It is not lowly and, helpless and victim and just, dependent on the whims of a more powerful creature. We are all one. We are one, and we are one with that source. And it's like a huge big, that's the paradigm shift. That's the way that opens the door for every other kind of spiritual study that we do. And I was surprised when Merlin said I needed to have a card from the Diana Cooper Magic of Unicorns. Ta-da-da, Magic of Unicorns deck, which is recent, and I love it. I just love it. I'm just beginning to get used to it. And I was like, what's that got to do with this? Well, and of course, he said, get one card. So I got the card, and of course, it's perfect because she's never wrong. And it says, be a beacon. Look at that. There's a unicorn, there's you, and there's a lot of people. You're shining your light on all these people. The unicorn is feeding your light. You are expanding your light, and then you're feeding all these people and showing the way for them and lighting up the road. It's the 36 card, which adds up to 9, which is a sacred number and is about the end of the journey. And this says, be an inspiration, light the way for others. Haha. And the book says, this is a card of the way shower. For you are a beacon, a light who illuminates the path for others and gives them hope. As a spiritual flame, you hold within your energy fields the keys and codes of knowledge, information, and wisdom that you have earned on your soul journey. Everyone has these, but they're not uncovered. Sometimes with many people, they're still buried pretty deep. We've been on a journey, and we're revealing all of this stuff. Without you being consciously aware of it, your aura reaches out and awakens gifts, qualities, and hidden possibilities in those around you. So you don't even have to say a word. You don't have to teach them anything, just by being who you are. And as we say, shining our light, just by walking through the world in our knowledge and in our peace, we make an impact. When your unicorn illuminates your aura, your light sparkles, and your presence alone can lift people energetically and make them feel better. You will find many are drawn to you. You don't have to do anything. Just be yourself. You are already helping many to wake up spiritually. This is an important task, and your guidance is to shine your light more strongly. To do so, make sure that you are properly grounded, be positive, smile and be happy. Ask Archangel Gabriel to pour shimmering diamond light into you and your unicorn to fill your aura with Christ light. Then radiate this divine light. When you do so, the heavens can see you, and not only will unicorns and angels bestow grace upon you, but many great masters and illumined guides will approach you in order to help you or work with you. You have every reason to be delighted with your spiritual progress. So that's kind of important. First of all, they're giving you a pat on the back for all that you've accomplished so far in your understanding and your work. And then they're saying, and now it's time to shine that for others and to show them the way. That's what we're here for. So that was pretty amazing. You can tap into unicorns and angels and masters to help you with this, and to work. It's actually diligence that helps you to stay grounded, happy, cheerful, not falsely cheerful, and not like Pollyanna, like, oh, I know the world is fine. No, you know everything that's going on, but you also know at your core that all is working out somehow for the highest good, and that we're moving towards a beautiful time. That is the cheerfulness we're talking about, that somehow you can still have sympathy for all of the pain and suffering going on, and you can still be concerned about the direction that some things are going, but you can still walk through the world and notice the beauty and notice the good people and notice the things that are working, and smile and acknowledge and let that lift your heart and your spirit, and let others see that and benefit from that. So now, in order to go further on this topic, I want to just take a break and just quick make sure. Looks like we're on YouTube. Okay, let me just check. Okay, so that is going, and I'm going to check tag. All right, I won't be able to see anything there. And let me just check comments to see if anybody's here. Nobody's here today. I think it's probably a very strange day for people to have time to see this. And I also think that many of you were turned off by the reference to religion, but give it a shot, because this is important information, as Merlin's always is. And let me just check, put a banner. I'm just going to put a couple banners up for the people that are going to be watching this later on, if anybody really falls in love with Merlin and wants to have a personal channeling from him or a personal reading from me with tarot cards and Merlin or not Merlin, or channeling somebody else that you would like, I am available, and I'm working through Rachel's website, which is the Soundwaves Heal website, and you can find me under the tag team and schedule there if you need to. And also I have a Facebook page. I don't have a website. I have a Facebook page called Be the Wizard. Facebook at Be the Wizard. I'm not really very active there at the moment, but maybe if some of you go there, I will be. This social media stuff, it's like, time consuming, ridiculous, but we do want to stay in touch with each other. That's why I love tag so much. And I love the 5D set too. We have lovely communities there. All right. So that's all the housekeeping I think that I want to do. And I'm going to put on this banner so we know what we're doing. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of background for me to just kind of set the stage for what he's going to do. Many of you know that, like Rachel, I've started out as a professional singer, although mostly for me it's been choral singing in groups, sometimes soloists. I've sung in opera choruses, in churches, in temples, every kind of religious thing you can imagine, funerals, weddings. It's a very sort of a catch as catch can kind of work, freelance work situation, much like the spiritual workers that you all are. And at one point, I've always been, since I was raised Protestant, I went to a Lutheran school. But my parents were very open-minded. My father he was just a middle-class welder. But he was always interested in the occult, and he was always reading books of Edgar Cayce and Ruth Montgomery. Those are not names maybe you know right now, but back in the dark ages when this stuff was considered really woo-woo and very strange, those were the voices that were publishing books and were really trustworthy and were amazingly channeling forth information that were great. And so he was like in the vanguard and trying to share that with all of us in the family. And my mother was really interested in all of this stuff too. So we had a grounding in Protestantism and in Christianity. And we were taught to have a respect for everybody's religions, all the different religions of people around us and their traditions. And I was fascinated with spirituality from the time I was very small. But of course, that led me to ask a lot of questions and found some of the religious teachings I was being given lacking. And of course, then there was my father's influence and all this occult stuff. And there was a conflict. And at some point I thought to myself, maybe I should go back to college and study like comparative religions, because I was fascinated with all of it. And then I thought, what the heck am I thinking? I'm a singer. I'm in the middle of I've got the privilege of sitting in services for almost every Protestant, every Catholic, and every Jewish kind of service, at least, and seeing from the inside out what that means. So I learned a lot from experience, from being a singer, an itinerant singer. The universe plans things perfectly. And of course, I met lots of interesting people who helped me on my way, who gave me books or who taught me philosophies, took some workshops, and moved along, got the tarot cards, started working with them, started learning. And then later on, much more recently, got into class with Rachel and learned more stuff. So it's an ongoing process, of course, opening and opening and opening like this great giant lotus. And your consciousness keeps opening and you keep having these aha moments, and it never stops because there's so much more that we can't even possibly understand with our little brains. But I love it. That's the journey that I think I'm here for. And I'm so excited about, and it fills me with joy to be learning, and it fills me with joy to be helping, to be assisting with all that. But in the meantime, I never really quite, because I'm a singer and I have to make a living, I've always been in churches every Sunday, making a living, singing in a church. And I've been very blessed because for the past 20 something years, I've been in the Congregational Church, which is probably one of the most liberal and socially minded institutions of organized religion has to offer. And I happen to be blessed to be in a wonderful church, which is not full of dogma, which is based on social justice. They are LGBTQ friendly. They are open-minded about things. They are, they don't, it's all about community, about Jesus, and trying to follow the way of Jesus and trying to understand things and to help each other. And it's a beautiful place. And years ago, one of the ministers actually said to me, you're such a dynamic force. And of course, you're an employee, but we'd love to have you join the church. And I was very hesitant. I said, well, I'm kind of into some, like other spiritual stuff that I'm not sure you'd approve of. And I don't want to go up there and make a vow or a commitment in words that I can't really say I believe. He said, well, what's the problem with the vow? I said, well, what's the vow? And he says, well, we vowed that we believe in God, that we support each other, and that we believe in Jesus Christ as our Savior, as our Lord and Savior. I said, yeah, that's the sticking point. And he looked me right in the face, a minister, and said, well, I didn't say he was the only one. And I laughed so hard. I thought that was so funny and so inclusive that I said, okay, I'll join the church. And from then on, I've been very active in the church. I'm on the board of deacons now. I'm in the choir. I'm singing in the choir, of course. And the community of that church has been there for me in big moments, like the passing of my father, the passing of my mother. They did the funerals. They've been supportive in times of difficulty, and also helpful in times when I was launching projects, and allowed me to come and, be merchandising at the church, doing my music, or, making programs. And the thing that I want to say about this is that I searched and found some place where I could be comfortable to have like one foot in each place, that I could have my spirituality and still contribute and be a part of a community, which is basically about the core values of religion that it's supposed to be, without all of the sort of judgmental stuff that all of us are like, we hate. So I was lucky. And you can keep shopping around and try to find that if you feel you need that, because community is a very good thing. And although we have that online here with our communities, we don't always have the in-person, ability to hug each other or to be there in a pinch. The other thing I want to say is that this is where that card comes in, the unicorn card. Sometimes I feel like I'm there, not just for everything I can get from it, but for what I can give to it. I keep like subtly, like I'm like a stealth light worker in the church. And every now and then I feel like I hear a sermon and they're like so close. They're so close to going over that hurdle of, it's not God and us. It's we being God, and that's the place where it's really hard for them to make that leap. But they are all about love and kindness and understanding and patience and compassion and action, action for that, and support of each other. And we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. But that's the main thing. And every now and then I like pitch an idea that I think is like a little bit more towards what we're doing, or ask a question that is a sort of a big, deep thinker, So I think that me being in that community is also partly a way of God planting sort of like a little seed or a little candle flame in the middle of this almost ready to go community. These sort of open-minded, loving people who just need to go, oh, and maybe I could be a little spark that helps some of them do that. That's what a way shower is. That's what a light worker is, a light bearer. And so that is another reason why it is possible to be a part of a religious community and to observe the traditions you may miss, or you may have grown up with, or you may value. And what I do is, like, if we're taking communion, or if we're doing like a ritual or something, or I'm at a funeral, I'm doing my own thing in my head, like I'm like taking from the words, taking from the Bible verses, taking from the sermons, taking from the rituals, what is meaningful to me. And I'm always spinning them in new ways. I'm always saying, what could Jesus have really meant by this? Or what could communion really, really mean? yeah, right. We're not eating body and blood of Christ, really, as far as I'm concerned. But what if Jesus was saying something like, the body is saying, eat, value this life, this incarnation. I want you to pay attention to being in this world, in this life, in a body that has to eat and drink and associate with each other and do things, because it's sacred. It's sacred time that you're spending here and you don't want to waste it. And what if Jesus was saying with the drinking the blood, or having the communion with the cup? What if he was saying, this is wine, it's blood, but it's like the fluidity of all of us together. We are one. Our souls are fluid. We're not like all these separate entities that are completely separate from each other. We flow from a single source, just like blood does in a body, just like the blood in the foot isn't any different from the blood in your finger or in your brain. It's from one place and it circulates around, and that's how spirit is. So again, I'm using what I see there, and I'm transforming what I have learned in my childhood into something a little more exciting, a little more revealing, because the language of religion is old, and it is subject to interpretation and to growth and evolution. So these are my comments about all of this, and Merlin's going to add a lot to it. I'm going to ask him to come in because he's dying to talk about all this, because he sees the evils and he sees the good, and he doesn't want everybody to throw it out with the baby with the bathwater, because there are ways in which we can discern what kind of religious work is worthy of our support and our tolerance, and what is not. What religious organizations or practices are really a big lie, so to speak. All right, take a break, have a sip of water. Hope this is interesting to somebody. Gonna go back to comments just in case. Oh, hi there, Bobby. Oh, so nice to see you there. All right, Merlin's coming in now, so this will be the more interesting part of the show. Enjoy your lunch. Yes, the channel is correct. It is always a privilege and a pleasure to be here amongst you. Whoever will watch this is meant to watch it at any particular time and get out of it what they need to. But it has been my desire to speak on it for a long time, so that my comments would be on the record, because your world is suffering from so many misconceptions and mistakes and misappropriated divine energy. And it is necessary to have the discernment to understand what is truth and what is not truth, what is holy and what is sacred and what is not holy and sacred, how to discern that, how to help others to discern that, and how to know what to discount, what to respect, and what to discount and not respect. And this will help you, and it will help you lead others to a better understanding of spirit. There are so many people out in your world now who are in the younger generations who understand the mistakes and the evils that organized religion have perpetrated upon the world. And they are saying, many of them are saying, we do not align ourselves with this. We do not belong. We do not believe. But it is unwise for them to throw out the belief in something bigger than themselves. And so many are just saying, I am spiritual, I am not religious, which is a kind of a important dividing line, but it is a difficult gray area to navigate. And so I will start by giving you context and going back to the very beginnings of this Earth experiment. Without spending too much time on them, you already know that the golden ages of certain experimental societies on this earth have already achieved a status of golden society. We've had time in Atlantis and Lemuria and other momentary flares of brilliance in the history of the world, where the beings, the people of Earth, the humans, were advanced enough and close enough to their origins that they did not need religion, so to speak. They understood innately that they were spiritual beings, that they were souls having a soul having a human experience, an incarnate experience, that it was not their only incarnate experience, that they were connected to spirit at all times, and that they would channel spirit through themselves in their work, in their loves, in their family life, in their philosophies and learning, in their raising of children, in their making of art, in their crafting of things for the community. All of this was work of spirit through the body and through the incarnation, and that made for a very happy society. Our chakras were open. There were other chakras that were open at the time, and there was more intercourse with other beings from other galaxies, and also things, beings like unicorns and dragons, which were very high vibrational, and angelic beings as well, and masters who would study very hard, myself among them, in order to master the deepest and highest understandings of spirituality, of our place in the cosmos, in order to help shepherd the rest of the community, to lead them, to teach them, and to guide them. This was not a matter of having priests. When we say Atlantis had priests and priestesses, it is not that the priests and priestesses were considered to be a higher class. They were given certain privileges because they spent so much time in service to the community, but they were not a higher class, and they were not considered superior beings. They were not considered also that they were to tell everyone what to do, or to pass judgment on anyone. That was not their job. Their job was to be there for healing, to be there for answering of questions, to be there for teaching, to be there for guidance, and to seek always even deeper and higher understandings of what source was doing in the cosmos, and how we were connected to that. And so it was a different kind of consistent spirituality that was not just on one day of the week, or just not considered during certain rituals or certain holidays. It was always. Now, we did have festivals and holidays that celebrated things like the change of seasons, or the gratefulness for a good harvest, or a good fishing expedition, or the passage of a young person into a new phase of their existence. Sort of like a coming of age ceremonies. And we had these rituals and these festivals and these parties and these parades. They were beautiful things that the whole community would come out together and celebrate and be joyful together. It was a reminder of being grateful to Source, a reminder of being together and helpful to each other and part of each other, and a reminder of just a pleasant, joyful thing to do as a group, to uplift the community and stay in the highest vibration of joy and fun and playfulness and celebration and gratitude. And so this was not celebrations that came along just because they commemorated something, or needed to go through an annual purging, or that was not their purpose in general. And so this was true of every golden age, every golden society, where the beings, the earth people, the humans, were always still connected with consciously and unconsciously connected with their spiritual being. But as you understand, and you know by now, there were still those in Atlantis, let us say, for sure. There were those for whom this connection dimmed enough for them to be subject to fear. Fear leads to the desire for more wealth, more power, more control, more personal authority, which led people down very dark roads and led them to selfish behaviors which were not in line with their hearts, knowledge and not in line with the best interests of themselves or their community, and led eventually to the destruction of Atlantis. Now, those who left Atlantis in time to scatter across the world and hold some of the Atlantean wisdom in different enclaves in the world. This was a spiritual effort to keep safe the knowledge, the technology, and the understandings of the Atlanteans safe until they could be safely and understood and utilized by the other evolving humanity on the planet. This planet was seeded many times by different galactics. And while the Atlanteans and the Lemurians were seeded by different kind of galactics who and spirit beings who led them in one direction, there was another group of humans who were evolving, as you know, from a much more physical place. They were evolving in a different way, and they were evolving from the lower and instinctual sorts of impulses, and had not yet reached a place where there was a very brutal society developing, which was based on fear and worries about having not enough, or being worried that there would not be food or there would not be safety, having to scrounge for safety in the world. The entire world had fallen into a place of some darkness because of many things I will not go into now, but these humans were evolving in a different way. And it was for the expatriate Atlanteans and Lemurians who had moved around the world and were keeping close Atlantean wisdom and spirituality to help to shine their light and influence these new societies in a positive direction. And there were always some who were ahead of the curve who would respond, the same as you are seeing now. There were some who would be ahead of their families and communities, who wanted to know more and who were ready to hear it, who were ready to understand that they too were scions of the great source, who had infinite potential at their disposal once they awakened. And so there was the enclave in Avalon and in Egypt and in South America and all over the globe. There were these different places where there were mystery schools, there were books being written, there were priests and priestesses who were teaching those who would listen. And the basic core of all of this is that we are all one. We are all one. We come from source. And therefore, the idea of violence against one another should be anathema to us. When you hurt someone, you are hurting yourself. You are hurting. It would be like you are biting your toe off. One part of you is angry at the other part and is doing damage to it. And it does not serve the whole. And it does not serve you in any way. And so trying to help people understand this concept, and that the power to rise above all of the challenges that they're experiencing was the knowledge of being an eternal spirit being, having many, many adventures, one after another, incarnate, and the power of love, the great power of love to solve any problem. Not necessarily on the physical plane, but in the bigger picture. And so the core conflict of every spiritual idea that has been from the beginning of time is the conflict between love and fear. Love is the Christ light. Love is the highest vibration. Love is the truth of source. Love is the truth of your being. Love is how you understand who you really are and the power that you have to create. And it can be manifested in so many ways, but it is a tremendous energy that can transform any situation. Fear is the opposite. Fear is the sense of isolation, the loss of remembrance that you are part of something bigger than yourself. And therefore, it causes you to not trust yourself, not trust your environment, not trust anyone about you, and be very, very concerned for your own well being on the physical plane. And so you will want to amass more wealth. You will want to have more things. You will want to be in charge of more things, in control. You will want to have power. You will want to take what, me first, me first, me first, always, because you have to take care of yourself and your family because no one else will, because the fear tells you that. Fear tells you that no one else will ever provide for you if you do not scrape and you are separate from deity, and deity will only help you. Deity, if you believe in deity at all, deity will only help you if you beg and scrape and worship and perhaps do terrible things such as sacrifice blood and life to this deity, or go to war in the name of the deity, or do rituals that are anathema because they are harmful and they are not based in love. And so this is a direction that spirituality was perverted in the wrong direction, out of truth, out of love. And still to this day, this the only compass that you have to decide whether a religious group has your respect or not is to gauge them on the meter of love versus fear. And so if an organization is acting in love for the most part, they may have flaws. Every community does, every human person, every human organization does. But if they are acting in love to be inclusive, to preach hope, to preach love and helpfulness, to accept and forgive and help people find their way, instead of ostracizing them, instead of destroying their psychological well-being, instead of judging them, instead of, when a religious organization is all about the rules and regulations and how we apply them to exclude people, to denigrate people, to criticize people, to harm people, to kill people. This is fear. This is fear-based. This is not spiritual. So these religions, and especially Orthodoxy, I have to say, because over the centuries, there were times when the world fell into a great deal of darkness, with a lot of violence, a lot of brother versus brother, a lot of scrabbling for basic necessities and also for power. And the source, being always loving, sent emissaries. your leader the other day said the word a missionary, which is emissary and missionary all at once. But great lighted souls would come into incarnation to teach, to remind the people of their origins, to remind them of the power of love, to remind them how powerful they could be if they woke up to their true selves and let go of fear, and let go of hatred, and let go of grudges, and let go of woundedness, and let go of all of those things that drag them down. And so we have all the masters you know of. We have Jesus, we have Moses, we have Abraham, we have Buddha, we have Muhammad, we have many, many more. In the Eastern religions, and some of them are revered as gods in Eastern religions, and also in some of the religions that came down through the Atlantean expatriates. We have the knowledge that there are many, many enlightened beings in many different dimensions that we knew in Atlantis and Lemuria. We have fae and elementals. We have galactic beings. We have beings who are very high vibrational masters of energy, who are great teachers or priests. We have animals, and we had many kinds of beings that had to leave the lower vibrations of Earth because it was too painful for them, and they were hunted, and they were not able. ascended up to a higher dimension, and so we no longer see on this planet the physical incarnations of unicorns, dragons, centaurs, those kinds of beings. They do exist. They are in another dimension. But all of these legends came down, and all of these powerful beings that could do magical things. And so some of the religious traditions incorporated panoplies of gods and goddesses. Now, you may call them gods and goddesses. They are ascended beings who are in higher vibrational spaces than you are, and they can do things that you find to be impossible or magical, and therefore in some ways they are gods and goddesses for you. And they can, many of them have been on your planet, being active in blessing, using energetic fields to inspire art and music, to help cleanse the earth, to help with the crops, to help with the interactions of all of the flora and fauna on your planet. There are many, 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 from the smallest to the largest kinds of beings that are invisible to you because they are more comfortable in another dimension. Or they are more comfortable to be less visible to you because human beings have a history of misusing the gifts that are given to them and can do harm still. So we have religions that have many, many gods and goddesses, and each of them have a different function in the world, such as the Norse traditions, the Greek and Roman traditions. Well, these were just the remembrances of a time when we knew all of these elevated beings, these either galactics or fae or masters or high-level beings that were helpful on the earth. And they became, unfortunately, instead of being appreciated for the work they were doing, some of them became gods and goddesses to worship, to sacrifice to beg for favors from. Some of them had sides that were mischievous or evil, and did a lot of damage when people would pledge themselves to what they thought was getting favor from a being of higher power than themselves. So that was all nonsense. It was really about misremembering who these beings were. But they are still important. You still talk to people like Thor and Odin and Artemis and Buddha and Kuan Yin and all these legendary figures, because they are real and they are in other dimensions and they are in higher dimensions, and they are helpful beings who are of high vibration. But they were not to be worshipped, and they were not to be curried favor with because somebody thought that would give them an edge in human life. And so that was a mistake. And so we send, every time one of these beings was sent to these high vibrational beings, such as Jesus or the Buddha or Muhammad, was sent to teach and uplift and show the way and be a way shower, you know what happens. Usually they have some sort of terrible, they have a lot of followers, and a lot of people wake up, and a lot of people are healed by them. A lot of people are raised by them. A lot of people's eyes are opened. But ultimately, Jesus went to a bad end because there were those who were afraid of what he was teaching, because it upset the system of what humanity was doing at the time, which is very much fear-based, very much control and power-based, and very much violence-based. And when Jesus taught to get rid of all of those things, he was a dangerous being. But you see, the Christ light, which was not Jesus, but was through Jesus. Jesus embodied the Christ light more than any other being ever has. And the Christ light is simply the light of purest love, uplifted love, active love. And so over the centuries, Christianity did blossom because Jesus had an effect. Unfortunately, always there are humans who wish to pervert the message and change the original idea into something that is not what was intended. And so we can use the ideas of Orthodox Islam, Orthodox Christianity, and Orthodox Judaism, especially these Orthodox things, because they truly believe that things from the very, very, very distant past should never evolve. We should not evolve in our understandings. We should follow all the rituals that applied 4,000 years ago. We should not open our minds to, we should not grow up. We should not open our minds. When we are children, we were given truths to understand on the level of a child. But as human race has grown and evolved, it should be ready to understand things on a higher level. Instead, these are folks who are insisting that everything stay the same as it has always been. And what has happened then is, of course, there are those who come into power who insist on that kind of orthodoxy and would like to banish everything. Everyone else is wrong. Every other interpretation is wrong. Every evolution of spirit is wrong. Every expansion of understanding is wrong. And that is not what was intended. This is no longer based in love. It is based in control. It is based in a way, control was necessary. Religions came to the fore in the Middle Ages and in all these other parts of your history where it was necessary for the spiritual viewpoint to gather enough membership and enough people to embrace the idea of love, of community, and nonviolence to be able to help the human race stop killing itself, to behave a little better, to care about each other, to not because they're going to go to heaven or be rewarded but it was a method to help rein in all of the chaos. And it got misused, and now it is used to control for the few, to keep the many under their thumb and to keep them from thinking independently. And so that is how some of the biggest religions have gone off track. They may still do much good in the world in some ways by doing charitable work and in teaching the ideals of love, but they do not practice the ideals of love so much because they are excluding people and preaching divisions and putting a thumb on those that do not obey what they think should be the rules. And these are humans. They have no right to make the rules. In fact, there are no rules. And God is not a punishing being. Source is not punishing. Source is a creator. Source is creator. Source gives us the free will and the energy to do what we will. And we are to learn by trial and error and experience how sometimes the misuse of those freedoms gets us into hot water. It causes pain, suffering, war, dissolution of families on the small and on the great level. The misuse of divine energy through someone's fear mechanism and desire for power or desire for control can make a lot of trouble. And the idea is that we learn from our mistakes. If you again, like a child, if you put your finger on the stove and it burns, you will say to yourself, I should not be putting my finger on the stove, because that will have a bad consequence, and therefore you will not do that. And the idea is, when you use God's energy and miscreate terrible problems for yourself or for others or for your entire world, you learn and say, this is not the way we should go. But human beings are very stubborn and they are slow to learn. Look at the wars you are experiencing now. You would think, so close to ascension, and with all of these centuries of warfare and destruction and misery behind us, that somehow we would learn that this is not a solution that really does anyone any good. This is not a road to take with the energy that Source provides you and the incarnations that you are privileged to have. This is not creating. This is not building. This is not evolving. This is not expanding. It is not love. But yet there are those in charge, unfortunately, who still embrace these ideas. And yes, there are forces outside of it, which we know are egging them on, who wish for everything to stay in this sort of mess it is now. But that's for another day. But there are also those on this planet who are just blindly following. They don't know what they are. They don't know. They are in ignorance. They're in darkness and ignorance, and they will follow the loudest voice or those that promise them the most. And that is how we get so much bigger problems, bigger destruction. And so, in some ways, the light workers, the expansion of this army of light workers that we are so proud is happening on the planet, is for you all to shine your light, to speak your truth, and to help, especially those who are lost in darkness and don't know who to follow. To show that the old solutions to conflicts have never worked, and they only wreak destruction and misery for everyone. And that there are other ways to move forward, that there are other ways to live in this world. Again, between fear and love. And so that is what you are teaching. You are teaching that reaction, that rage, that anger, that the thirst for power, the resentment and revenge. All of these things are from fear, and they're all on the wrong side of the ledger, and they will all cause more suffering. And on the love side of the ledger is inclusion, is high expectation, is education, is assisting each other, giving each other a leg up, not being taken advantage of, but giving each other a leg up. Is charity, is non-judgment, is forgiveness. These are the ways that Jesus taught that people still now say they are Christian, and yet they do not believe that these things are really powerful at all. How many Christians have you heard say that? They were Christian, but they don't believe that. They believe people are inherently bad or inherently selfish or inherently violent. And so they really don't embrace the Christian way at all. And you can see the hypocrites in the world. You can find them easily by seeing what they say and how they act. And if they are only using their Christianity to quote chapter and verse of a book that is a sacred book that has within it many very very important tenets of loving spirituality, but also has been translated from language to language to language to language over the course of thousands of years, and has also been monkeyed with by many people in authority who has decided what stays and what goes in the book. And so, the authority of this book on every single word, every single chapter and verse is very, very foggy, let us say. And if you are only using it to support the ideas of judgment, punishment, exclusion, laws and regulations that infringe on other people's free will, this is not love. This is not spirit. It is not. They may think they're a religion, but this is not in harmony with the spirituality we are moving towards, that we are aspiring to, where we all understand who we are and how we are related and parts of our creator, and how we should treat each other as equal parts of our creator. And so this is the first part that I emphasize to you, that you can. In the past, it was important for everyone to say, well, I respect and accept everyone else's religions and their traditions, which is a good thing, to respect and honor everyone's traditions. However, when you see traditions which go astray into the realm of exactly the opposite of what a religion should be doing, then they no longer deserve your respect or your honor. And Therefore, you are not obligated to support any religion which is using its religion to kill, to exclude, and all of the other things that I said. It is not based in love. And if it is not based in love, it is not a religion, and it's not of spirit. It is not to be respected or honored or supported. On the other side of things, there is no reason why all religious institutions need to be burned to the ground, because there are those which are still trying to, in their own way, they may not quite be at the place where they understand who they are, how we are related to source exactly. But there are those that hold the tenets of love your neighbor and help each other and make a community of support for each other. And there are those who still observe rituals that are meaningful to them because it reminds them that there is something more than what they are seeing around them in the physical 3D world. And so you should not denigrate those who value those rituals, who value those singing together in community, for example, or taking a communal something, or making a bar mitzvah, which is a passing of a child into the age of adulthood. These are rituals that go all the way back to the origins of man, and are celebrations of oneness, are celebrations of milestones in human life. They are celebrations of community where everyone shares, even celebrations such as funerals, which are sad times for many people who have lost a loved one, but they are then surrounded by those who will support them. And this is important. It is important for witnesses in baptisms and weddings as well, for this ritual of community spirit, community support, saying we also welcome this child into the world, and will support this child and guide this child and help this child and love this child. And we will also support this couple and help this couple and love this couple, and help them get through the rough patches with our experience and our care. These rituals have value. They do have value, and they can be observed in groups which are dedicated to teaching the spirit of religion, the spirit of spirituality, the core values, which is our love, 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 oneness, harmlessness, gratitude, sharing, community, support. If you can find or see an organization, or if a client or a family member is involved in an organization which is mostly about these things, it is something that we support from above. It is something that we think groups of people banding together to invoke source, to do good things in the world, to include, to assist, to comfort, to lift up. It is worthy. It is worthy of your attention, and there's no reason you cannot participate and be part of this community. And if you feel that the community is just not quite understanding what the beautiful cosmic truths are that you have discovered through your explorations, give them time. They are still learning. They are still exploring. Their eyes are partly shut. They understand things on an intuitive level that your light can possibly illuminate for some of them. This is how we wake up the rest of the planet, is by knowing what we know, walking through the world, and being embodiment of those high level, beautiful spiritual tenets. And then when asked, we can share what we know. And there are some who are eager to hear. There's some who are hungry to hear an alternate version of what they have been told God is about. In fact, this channels, the minister that she now works with, he says he is fond of saying that many people come to him and say, I am an atheist, I don't believe in God. And the minister will say to them, well, what is it you don't like that you don't believe in? And many times they will say, well, God is a vengeful being who punishes and has all these rules and regulations, and is whimsical and angry sometimes, and other times beneficent for no good reason. And I can't believe that that is so. And the minister is fond of saying to them, well, I don't believe in that God either, because he doesn't exist. She doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. This is not what God is about. God is this wonderful, endless, deep energy of creation, of creativity and love that joys in expanding an experience and is not at all about judgment. And that will stop many people cold, because they will have to question what they have been told in their youth, or what their religion still teaches. I will not go into further detail, but it is important for you all to know that you may find solace and joy as a part of a religious community that supports you in whatever way you need. And there is nothing wrong with that. But you will still carry forth your own personal quest to understand things in a more expansive way, and to work in the light workers and metaphysical fields. And perhaps some of that will even rub off on the people that you are with in your religious organization. On the other hand, it is right for you to speak your truth and denounce any religious organizations which claim to be from God, but do everything the opposite of what God intends. Those who claim themselves to be the only Christians worthy of respect, but are all about judgment, punishment, control, denigration of women, denigration of the other, denigration of the those that do not follow the strict tenets of who they think they should be with gender or behavior. This is not for humans to judge. Source is about freedom. Source is about free will. Source is about expansion and creativity and experience. Now, when experience goes to a place of harming others, then it is necessary for the person who is harming will learn. They will have something bite them back, so to speak, because their actions will engender, through universal law, their actions will engender a response from the universe that they will not like. And hopefully they will understand that they must choose a different path in order to attract a better life. This is the only punishment there is in the universe. The punishment is the law. The punishment is, you will see that your thoughts, your actions, your words have consequences. And you will learn from what the consequences are. Now, it may seem in your world sometimes as if evil people are in charge of so much and they never seem to have any consequences. But it is a long arc at times. They are not happy people. They are scrambling to hold on to their power. They have made many enemies. There will come a time when their souls will understand that the road they have taken is not a road that leads to ascension or to joy. I am sure that time is fleeting at the moment, and so I hope that I have covered as much of this subject as is important for you right now. But the main points are, as I said, everything should be judged on the basis of, is this based on love? Is this based on fear? And you can condense everything back to one or the other. And you know which to choose. that it is not necessary to eliminate all religions from the earth, for some are still making an attempt to spread good information and good behaviors and good sense of community and love through their message. But it is necessary to call out those which are hypocritically or who believe somehow that they have been elected to make the rules for everyone in the world, which is ridiculous. And so I, Merlin, am asking you to be tolerant of those who are pious, but in good ways, and to help them to expand their vision as it seems appropriate or as they are ready. There's a famous saying that if you and I are playing catch with a ball and I keep missing the ball and dropping it, you should look to how you are throwing it and when you are throwing it. It is your fault, not mine, that I am dropping the ball. And so as a light worker, it is important for you to understand how and when to throw the ball. Because if the person drops the ball, it will not be their fault. I will here now sign off and hope that many will hear this and understand more about how to walk through this world while you are still changing dimensions and while you are still in the throes of shifting, and how you can better support yourselves and shine your light on those who are ready to awaken. I send you much love from all of us on this side of the dimensional barriers, who are here with you always, supporting, guiding, and sending you encouragement and guidance. You are very well loved and greatly respected for all that you do. I will speak to you again soon. You are dear to my heart. Look at that. Okay, just a little bit after 3. I'm sorry it took so long, but I hope there was good information in there. It was kind of all over the map a little, but basically he was trying to, at the end, he was trying to sort of like coalesce it down to a few major points. And I hope that some people will listen to this, and again, it may help you make your own transition from traditions that you grew up with, and it perhaps something you're still involved with, help you not feel conflicted about it, and also help you understand others. Oh, thanks, Bobby. That's great. I'm glad you got something out of it, and thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to say goodbye. Have a lovely weekend, and I hope it is a time of great joy for you. Bye.